Good evening, and welcome to our discussion program, where we tackle complex societal questions. Tonight we delve into an exceptionally sensitive and enduring question. Does religion cause more harm than good in society? It's a topic that evokes profound personal beliefs and traverses millennia of human history. Joining us to navigate this intricate terrain are Professor Alistair Finch, a historian and philosopher known for his work on conflict studies and secular ethics, who will argue that religion's harms outweigh its benefits, and Dr. Lena Petrova, an anthropologist and theologian specializing in religious practices and interfaith dialogue, who will present a more nuanced perspective, arguing against the proposition. Our format will consist of opening statements from each speaker, followed by rebuttals, and concluding with closing statements. Professor Finch, would you please begin with your opening statement?
Thank you, Dr. Reed. While one might concede certain peripheral benefits sometimes associated with religious practice, perhaps a modicum of community or fleeting personal comfort, these are vastly overshadowed by the profound and pervasive harm religion has inflicted, and continues to inflict, upon societies globally. My central contention is that, on balance, religion demonstrably causes significantly more harm than good. Firstly, let us consider the undeniable link between religion and conflict. History groans under the weight of religiously motivated violence, from the Crusades and the European wars of religion to the Inquisition's persecution of supposed heretics. Religious doctrine has repeatedly provided justification for bloodshed on a monumental scale. In contemporary times, this pattern persists alarmingly. Sectarian violence tears communities apart in numerous regions, and extremist ideologies, explicitly rooted in religious interpretations, fuel global terrorism, causing untold suffering and instability. Secondly, religion is a potent engine of social division and intolerance. By its very nature, it often establishes rigid in-groups and out-groups, fostering suspicion, prejudice, and discrimination. We see this manifested in the religiously sanctioned discrimination against women, LGBTQ+ individuals, those belonging to different castes, or people holding different beliefs, or no beliefs at all. Laws criminalizing apostasy or blasphemy in various parts of the world are a direct consequence of religious intolerance, stifling free expression and persecuting dissenters. Thirdly, religion frequently acts as an impediment to intellectual and social progress. Throughout history, religious institutions have actively opposed scientific advancements that challenge doctrinal assertions. Consider the persecution of Galileo, or the ongoing resistance to evolutionary biology in some quarters. Furthermore, religious dogma often obstructs crucial social reforms, hindering the development of secular education systems, opposing advancements in reproductive rights, and resisting the expansion of universal human rights based on reason and empathy rather than divine decree. While proponents might highlight charity or community, these cannot possibly compensate for the large-scale violence, systematic discrimination, and obstruction of knowledge that are intrinsically linked to religious belief systems and institutions. Therefore, a dispassionate examination of the historical record and contemporary reality leads to the inescapable conclusion that religion has been, and remains, a significant net source of societal harm.
Thank you, Professor Finch. Dr. Petrova, your opening statement, please.
Thank you, Dr. Reed. Professor Finch paints a grim picture, and indeed, it is undeniable that actions carried out in the name of religion have caused immense suffering throughout history. However, to assert that religion itself inherently causes more harm than good is, I believe, a profound oversimplification that ignores the vast positive contributions of faith traditions and misattributes blame. Much of the harm cited stems not from core religious tenets, but from their deliberate misinterpretation, their cynical manipulation for political or economic gain, or simply from the universal human failings of greed, fear, and tribalism, which can corrupt any ideology, secular or religious. Firstly, let's examine the crucial role of religion in building community and fostering social cohesion. For billions worldwide, religious institutions provide vital social networks, offering support in times of crisis, facilitating collective action for the common good, and creating a shared sense of identity and belonging that is fundamental to human flourishing. These communities are often the bedrock of social capital in many societies, providing stability and mutual aid. Secondly, religions furnish comprehensive moral frameworks that guide the behavior of vast populations. Concepts like the Golden Rule, compassion, forgiveness, stewardship, and justice are central tenets in most major faiths. These ethical teachings inspire countless acts of altruism and pro-social behavior daily, underpinning legal systems and societal norms that promote cooperation and restrain selfishness. While secular ethics exist, religion provides this moral grounding for a significant portion of humanity. Thirdly, the sheer scale of charitable work motivated by faith is staggering. Faith-based organizations are at the forefront of global efforts in healthcare, education, disaster relief, and poverty alleviation. From local soup kitchens run by churches or temples to international aid agencies, religious conviction fuels an immense humanitarian impulse, providing essential services and advocating for the marginalized and vulnerable in ways that secular institutions often cannot replicate in scale or reach. Finally, and perhaps most fundamentally, religion addresses the deep human need for meaning, purpose, and hope. It offers answers to existential questions, provides frameworks for understanding suffering, and instills a sense of transcendence that can be profoundly beneficial for psychological well-being. Studies have often linked religious involvement with improved mental health outcomes, resilience in adversity, and greater life satisfaction for many individuals. Therefore, while acknowledging the reality of harms committed under the banner of religion, we must differentiate between the potential of faith and its misuse. The demonstrable benefits, strong communities, ethical guidance, vast charitable works, and profound personal meaning are not peripheral, but central to the lived experience of billions. These substantial contributions, I contend, suggest that religion does not inherently cause more harm than good when viewed in its full, complex context.
Thank you, Dr. Petrova. We now move to the rebuttal phase. Professor Finch, you have the floor to respond to Dr. Petrova's points.
Dr. Petrova offers a rather sanitized view, focusing on aspirations rather than the often harsh realities. Let's dissect these supposed benefits. She speaks of community building. Yet, these religious communities are frequently exclusionary by definition. They bind the faithful together often by demarcating, denigrating, or actively discriminating against the other, the infidel, the heretic, the non-believer. This inherent us versus them dynamic is precisely what fuels the intergroup conflict I highlighted earlier. Furthermore, conformity within these groups can be stifling, punishing dissent and discouraging critical thought. Then there's the claim of providing moral frameworks. While some religious ethics promote pro-social behavior, many are rigid, archaic, and frankly immoral by contemporary secular standards. Think of doctrines justifying slavery, subjugating women, condemning homosexuality, or demanding unquestioning obedience to authority figures, sometimes leading to horrific acts justified by divine command. Robust secular ethical systems, based on reason, empathy, and human well-being, are not only sufficient, but demonstrably superior and more adaptable. Regarding charitable works, while acknowledging that some faith-based organizations do good work, this must be contextualized. Often this charity is conditional, tied to proselytization efforts, or serves to enhance the institution's power and influence. Furthermore, the resources dedicated to charity often represent a minuscule fraction of the vast wealth accumulated by major religious institutions, wealth sometimes accrued through historical exploitation or tax exemptions. This charity hardly negates the systemic harm perpetuated elsewhere. Finally, the provision of meaning and purpose. While religion might offer comfort, it often does so by promoting comforting falsehoods or discouraging engagement with the complexities and challenges of the real world. Deriving meaning from evidence-based understanding and human connection is arguably more authentic and less prone to dangerous delusion. The psychological benefits can be achieved through secular means, community, therapy, philosophy, without the baggage of dogma and potential for fanaticism. Dr. Petrova attempts to separate the misuse of religion from its core, but the historical and ongoing evidence suggests that the potential for conflict, intolerance, and obstruction of reason is deeply embedded within the very structures, doctrines, and psychological mechanisms of many religious systems. It is not merely an occasional aberration.
Thank you, Professor Finch. Dr. Petrova, your rebuttal?
Professor Finch continues to paint with an overly broad brush, attributing complex societal problems solely or primarily to religion, while downplaying its positive agency. He attributes conflict directly to religion. However, a closer historical analysis reveals that most major conflicts, including many cited as, quote, religious wars, were driven primarily by political ambitions, economic competition, and territorial disputes. Religion was often exploited as a powerful tool for mobilization and justification, a banner to rally under, rather than the fundamental root cause. We must not forget the catastrophic violence unleashed by explicitly secular ideologies in the 20th century. Fanaticism and brutality are sadly not exclusive to religious contexts. Regarding intolerance, yes, instances abound, and they are deplorable. But this is not the full story. Within virtually every major religion, there are also powerful traditions and scriptural interpretations advocating tolerance, compassion, and universal dignity. Numerous reform movements throughout history have challenged intolerant practices from within religious frameworks. Furthermore, interfaith dialogue and cooperation are increasingly robust forces working actively against exclusion and prejudice, often motivated precisely by religious principles of peace and understanding. The argument that religion inherently obstructs progress is also contestable. While conflicts like the Galileo affair are well known, we often overlook the significant historical contributions of religious institutions and individuals to science, philosophy, art, and education. Many universities were founded by religious orders. The perceived conflict is often between science and specific, literalist or fundamentalist interpretations of Scripture, not necessarily with faith or spirituality itself. Many scientists throughout history and today hold deep religious beliefs. Professor Finch dismisses the positive aspects, community, morality, charity, meaning as either flawed or achievable secularly. While secular alternatives exist, this doesn't negate the fact that for billions, religion is the primary source of these vital elements. To label the meaning derived as delusion is dismissive of profound human experiences. The harms he emphasizes, while real, often represent deviations from or perversions of religious ideals, whereas the positive contributions reflect the core aspirations and lived reality for a vast number of adherents globally. Attributing harm requires careful causal analysis, not broad condemnation. Blaming religion wholesale ignores the complex interplay of human nature, politics, economics, and ideology.
Thank you, Dr. Petrova. We will now proceed to closing statements. Professor Finch, your concluding remarks.
In summary, the arguments presented tonight reinforce my position the ledger overwhelmingly shows religion causing more harm than good. We have seen its inherent capacity to foster division and justify violence, a pattern tragically repeated throughout history and continuing today. We've noted its role in entrenching intolerance and discrimination against vulnerable groups. We have also discussed its demonstrable hindrance to rational inquiry and social progress on numerous fronts. Dr. Petrova's counter-arguments, while eloquently presented, essentially downplay the severity, scale, and systemic nature of these harms, often attributing them to, quote, misuse, rather than acknowledging problematic core tenets or inevitable institutional dynamics. The proposed benefits, community, morality, charity, meaning, are not exclusive to religion. They can, and are, effectively cultivated through secular organizations, ethical philosophy, humanist values, and strong social bonds based on shared humanity rather than shared dogma. Crucially, these secular avenues provide the benefits without the inherent risks of dogma, divine authority claims, and religiously sanctioned intolerance. For the advancement of a more peaceful, rational, and equitable global society, it is vital that we honestly confront the substantial net harm caused by religious belief and institutions.
Thank you, Professor Finch. Dr. Petrova, your closing statement.
Professor Finch insists on a negative balance sheet, but this neglects the profound and multifaceted ways religion contributes positively to human life and society. I have highlighted its unparalleled role in building cohesive communities, providing robust ethical frameworks that inspire altruism and justice for billions, driving immense global humanitarian efforts, and offering indispensable sources of meaning, hope, and psychological resilience. The harms associated with religion are real and must be condemned, but they predominantly arise from human fallibility and the misuse of religious platforms for power, control, or hatred, failings to which secular ideologies are equally, if not more, susceptible. To blame religion itself is to ignore the agency of individuals and political structures, and to disregard the positive potential inherent in faith traditions. What is required is nuance, the ability to critique and condemn harmful actions perpetrated in the name of religion, while simultaneously recognizing and valuing the immense good inspired by faith in countless lives and communities across the globe. Religion, understood not as a monolith but as a diverse spectrum of human experience, remains a vital force. Its capacity for fostering good, when its core values of compassion, justice, and community are embraced, is immense and, I maintain, ultimately outweighs the negatives unjustly attributed solely to its name.
Thank you, Dr. Petrova and Professor Finch, for an insightful and vigorously argued debate on this challenging topic. You have presented compelling arguments on both sides, illuminating the core tension. Is the harm we witness inherent to the structures and doctrines of religion, or is it primarily a consequence of human misuse and political manipulation? Furthermore, how do we weigh tangible harms like conflict and discrimination against less tangible, yet deeply significant, benefits like community cohesion, ethical guidance, and personal meaning? These are not questions with easy answers. We hope this discussion has provided valuable perspectives for our audience to reflect